Good evening. Given the assessment of the latest infection situation, as you heard just now, we have decided that we will be able to proceed with the streamlining of our SMMs or SMMs 1 to 5. Let me recap what the SMMs, this streamlining exercise is about, SMM 1 to 5, and also explain why these moves should be seen as a rationalization exercise and not an easing of rules. So what are these SMMs 1 to 5? First, group size. We will keep group size at 5 persons. And this is extremely important because group size directly affects the number of close contacts that each person has and is a key factor in driving infections. So we are maintaining at 5 persons for the group size parameter. We are allowing or simplifying the rules so that you can have 5 unique visitors per household at any one time instead of 5 per day. Now, this may be seen as an easing in some sense, but in fact, most households do not receive multiple sets of visitors outside of festive periods, right? You don't have multiple groups visiting you at any day. Most people don't do that outside of festive periods. And for those who want to meet multiple groups of friends, they probably are already doing so outside of their homes anyway. And that's why when we looked at this and we consulted with the experts, we felt that simplifying this particular rule will not add that much to transmission risk. What's more important is that all of us continue to exercise self-restraint and responsibility. So do not, be responsible in terms of how many multiple groups of friends you meet, be it at home or outside of the home, especially if you are living with a vulnerable person within your home. And if you're not feeling well, then certainly, please do not go out to meet anyone, right? Take precautions, test yourselves. So in the end, it still comes down to personal responsibility. But that's the first parameter, group size. Second, mask wearing remains a default both indoors and outdoors, and that is still very important because mask wearing continues to confer significant protection against infection. Thirdly, we have the requirement of safe distancing. We are standardizing at 1 meter for safe distancing. And we say it's no longer a requirement for mask-on settings. So if you have a mask on, this is no longer required, although it is encouraged. And this is a recognition that masking remains a key means of protecting against infection. That's why if you have your mask on, then you do not need to have that 1 meter safe distancing, although it is still encouraged. Fourthly, capacity limits. For events and settings with 1,000 or fewer people, we are going to remove the size limits or the zoning requirements because really, if you're mask on, these additional zoning requirements do not add so much in terms of additional precautions. So we are streamlining and simplifying those. But if you have a large event or setting over 1,000 persons, then we will implement the safeguards through a capacity limit, and we will have it at 50% capacity limit, 50% of the capacity of that particular venue, and it can apply to a cruise, to an attraction, or to a MICE event. And then finally and fifthly, workplace, we are maintaining the current posture, which is that 50% of the people who can work from home are allowed to return to the office. So that doesn't change. What we are doing is to streamline and align the workplace SMMs with the community SMMs. Because today, if you are at work, in fact, you are not allowed to dine together, to have a lunch break together with your colleague in a group of 5. You can only eat on your own under today's rules. But if you were to go out to a hawker center, you can sit with 5 people on a table and have lunch together. So it's inconsistent. And that's what we're trying to get at, to simplify, streamline, and remove these inconsistencies. So we will align the workplace MMMs with the community SMMs so that there will be less confusion, and you can, whether it's in the workplace or outside in the community, you can have a gathering of up to 5 persons based on the group size rule. So these are SMMs 1 to 5. I hope everyone understands it is an exercise to simplify, to streamline, and to rationalize. We have assessed this very carefully, distilled this to the most important and effective SMMs, and we believe that doing so will not result in additional risk or transmission risk, because this is not meant to be an easing of rules, it's meant to be a streamlining exercise. Where we are easing is where it comes to sports. So there is some easing with regard to sports because we are allowing team sports for up to 30 fully vaccinated persons to proceed, as we had announced earlier. So this one, yes, there is some easing. But on this, we had considered it very carefully, as Minister Ong had explained. We looked at all the different considerations and on balance, we felt that the benefits, the overall health benefits of allowing sports to resume far outweighs the risk of infection, which in fact are low because of the transient contact, the transient nature of contacts when you get engaged in sports itself. And there is, so far, when we look around the world and in Singapore, no clear evidence that such transient contacts while playing sports will lead to higher infections. And that's why, on balance, we felt that we should continue to proceed with sports, and MCCY will gradually expand this to more venues in the coming weeks. So the moves that we are making, announcing today, which will take effect on 15th of March, are the SMMs 1 to 5, the streamlining and the resumption of sports. And these moves are important, not just because of the simplification and the streamlining, making it easier to understand, but they are important because they will set the stage for further easing down the road. Now that we are past the peak of infection, we are likely, while the healthcare system is still very busy, but we are likely to see some easing of the load and the stress on our healthcare system in the coming weeks. Exactly when this will happen, it's still early to say because the system is still very busy now, but as the curve comes down, as the infection rate comes down, we will see some easing of the pressures on our healthcare system. And if this continues, then, as we had explained before, we will take further significant steps to ease up. And that means allowing freer international travel and relaxing further our SMMs. And the relaxation of the SMMs will be along these 5 key parameters, which we explained just now. Group size will go up from 5 to a larger number. We will decide what that number is. Mask wearing, we can decide whether or not indoor or outdoor, the different settings, whether we should make it default. Capacity limits, we can go up from 50% to a higher limit. Back to office, we can go up from 50% to a higher percentage. So it's very easy to understand. These are the 5 key parameters, and the next step, we will be able to take significant moves to ease our domestic SMMs, at the same time free up international travel. Of course, besides these 5 key parameters, there are a few other specific settings that we have today for higher risk venues or activities. And these are quite specific. They pertain to live performances and singing, F&B venues, alcohol consumption at 10:30, for example, and no intermingling across tables, and nightlife activities. These are very specific, and these too will be reviewed as part of our broader easing. So we will continue to study these different parameters very closely while keeping a close watch on our healthcare system, and we will provide further updates when we are ready. Thank you.